evening, everyone, and welcome to the Toastmasters Leadership Institute workshop titled Speak and Think Like a Leader, which today is going to be presented by Rita Barber. My name is Ravina Suri, and I am your host for tonight. Before I introduce Rita, I want to give thanks to a few people who have helped us come to where we are today. I want to start by thanking Maitli Prabhu because she's put in a lot of work to get us here. And I'd also like to thank the district PR team, the district web team, and our tech guru, Carrie Lynn. Now to our speaker. Rita feels passionately that there are key points to becoming a strong leader, including becoming a strong communicator, trusting within one's ability to lead, and never waiting for permission to lead. She has worked with startups and with established companies alike on designing and delivering persuasive and notable presentations. While Rita has personally delivered countless presentations and workshops, today's presentation is a new product that she has created for us. And amongst other things, it cuts to the root of power that we each have within ourselves. Rita is an avid Toastmasters, and she was District 4 governor for the largest district in North America. This district had over 6,500 members in corporate and community clubs from San Francisco to Monterey, and this was in 2013-2014. She completed her term with the district being Select Distinguished, which is a real honor. In 2016, Rita was selected by Toastmasters as the recipient of the Toastmasters International Presidential Citation Award for continuing her work in promoting communication and leadership, and for her support and dedication to the organization. She is a two-time Distinguished Toastmaster. Please help me in welcoming Rita Barber. Rita,
thank you. All right, that was such an incredible introduction. It's almost as if I wrote it myself. Thank you, Robina. And thank you everybody for putting this together today. I am very excited about this material that we're going to talk about and hearing your thoughts on it and everything. I want to share a little bit about how I like to do workshops. Many of you know my style. I believe that it's good to have a dialogue going on rather than just a talking head, so to speak. So as you may have questions or thoughts or anything, please be sure to raise your hand or write it out in the chat. Our incredible guru tonight is Carrie Lynn. Carrie Lynn, can you say hi to everybody? And I am here to tell you right now, she is just utterly spectacular. And she'll be watching for your questions and managing things throughout. And if there's anybody who's quick on the draw, it is for sure Carrie Lynn Morgan. No two ways about it. Don't save your questions. That's one thing I'd like to encourage you to not do, because if you save your questions, inevitably you'll either, number one, forget what your question was, all right, or number two, you'll keep on thinking about your question and thinking about your question to the point where you're not really listening to the other things that we're talking about, and that doesn't really benefit you either. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and get started because we do have a lot of material, and I, for my own self, I'm going to take myself off of speaker view and put this on gallery view so that I can see everyone. I'd love to see your faces. So if you could perhaps go off of the little pictures that you have and let me see your shining selves, that would just be wonderful. Now, when we talk about leadership, one of the things that I notice often is when someone wants to talk to me about leadership, it's usually from the point of view of how do I become a leader? And a lot of people will ask that because they're waiting for some kind of permission from someone to become a leader. They want their boss to promote them. This is the number one area that I hear. Well, the fact of the matter is that you don't wait for permission. You start to exhibit the behavior of a leader. So maybe that's really the very first question that we should ask. What does a leader act like? Does anybody have any ideas in terms of what a leader might be like or act like or say? Anyone?
Go ahead and unmute yourself and talk.
Leader is visionary.
A visionary, right? And what does that mean, Ramesh?
That means he is not just seeing things which is going to happen in very short term or even medium term. He has a long-term outlook of how things should appear or should the state that they want to reach.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. And in turn, as a visionary, he is someone or she is someone who can have others see just what it is that he or she is seeing, right? They know how to transfer that vision to other people. Satish, did I see your hand go up?
Yes, Rita. A leader is someone who she can drive people towards a common shared goal and make things happen.
Yes, very good. Absolutely. All right. And I think, Elaine, I thought I saw your name go on the board there for a second.
Yeah, a leader serves others.
Yes. And tell us why that's important.
Well, leadership is service. It's not sitting back and letting everything be done for you. It's about being the first into the first over the hill, the first you're leading where you never ask people to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. So leading by example, and that is a form of service.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, everybody here, one of the great takeaways that I hope you take with you is that you need to charge the batteries of someone else into the leadership sector of what's going on, because that's what makes our world a brighter and better world, is by having more people step into leadership moving forward that way. Arnie. Oh, Arnie, you're on mute.
Yes, hi, Miss Barber. Yeah, I agree with the other two, but mainly I think I want to quote my professor in graduate school who said that a leader should be people-oriented. So his main tool is psychology, according to him, and I agree with him. Service and policy follows. Once you love your people, people follow you and do what you want. So people love people, people-oriented, and you must have a tool, that basic tool of psychology. Know who they are, what they are, and of course, what they love, what they hate, and of course, get along with them. That's the dynamic of leadership.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Okay, Francoise, I think I saw your hand up.
Right. I am listening to a podcast that's in French, and I need to check the translation, but the author mostly mentions that a good leader is benevolent, is always looking for the well-being of the people he's serving, and his well-being as well, but first of his team.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give me an example? I know for a fact that you have been that way as one of our past district directors. Can you give us an example?
Looking always for the best of club members and clubs by themselves. An example, I can't think of any. Can you think of that, something that?
Oddly enough, you won't believe this, but when you were area director, or you might have been area governor then, I'm not sure what the title was.
Director, yeah.
Right? You worked with Intel. Intel was one of you had a club in Intel. And one day you came in because you were really proud of the different things that the people were doing. in that club, and you came in with candy, or maybe it was chocolates, which would be even better, and shared it with everyone, just letting them know how proud you were of the accomplishments that they made and how you'd like to see them take on even more than that. And you know what? My husband, who was a member of that club, could not stop talking about that. He could not stop talking about that. He just loved it so very much. And that was a way where you inspired. And the other part for him afterwards was, I swear you could have said to him, I need you to walk on hot coals for a couple of hours. He would do that for you because you really just touched him so very much. All right. Robina, did you want to make an announcement very quickly? I see that you had a message up there.
Yes, I just wanted everyone to know that this session is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube sometime later, next week or yeah, probably next week. But just wanted everyone to be aware of the fact this is being recorded.
But just be sure to hang out in the meantime. Now, somebody had their hand up and I didn't catch the name. Could you just go off of mute and just ask?
Yeah, Marutish.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. Leader is who encourage people to take an action. For example, in coming to the Toastmaster, VP Education will encourage members to take a role for every week, and VP Public Relationship will change the guest into the member. Like this, leadership where is in everywhere. They will encourage us, motivate us, guide us to take action and grow. Thank you.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we could go on and on with an incredible list, and everybody seems to have a good grasp on it. Satish just mentioned a leader brings out the best in others. That's certainly true. Even when that person may falter, a leader knows how to offer his or her hand and help them up rather than to reprimand them. One of my favorites, a leader knows how to catch people doing things right, first and foremost, and all the time. And if something goes wrong, a leader knows how to work with that person confidentially, one-on-one, and let them know what it is that they should do the next time, because there will be a next time. It's a learning lab, even outside of Toastmasters, let's face it, it's a learning lab. I think one of the more important things is a leader offers solutions. So rather than hearing a problem or being consumed by a problem, a leader will listen, consider, think about the different angles to what's going on, and then offer a solution, or maybe a couple of solutions. That's the time to speak. The time to speak is to say, I have something that I can offer you. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I think about that quite often. All right. And another thing is to remember that when you offer a solution or anything that you do, that less is more. You don't have to go on and on with information. You can take less time in doing so. Now, did I miss out somebody? I'm sorry, did someone else have their hand up and I just missed it? Pritam? You have to be off of mute.
Yeah, a leader is someone who motivates others, uplift others, and extract the best from the team members. He's a good team player.
Yes. Yes.
Best example is Indira Nui.
Yes, for sure, definitely. And also going back to the offering a solution to something, and you're going to keep it brief, but don't leave it there, because you don't want to go on and on and on until you basically lose the mojo. I've just got that word in my mind for some strange reason. The mojo that we have, but you want to offer less, but be sure to ask. Do the follow-up. The follow-up being, can I answer anything else? Can I give you any more information? Do you understand what it is that I'm saying here? To make sure that whoever it is that you're speaking to does understand. You're staying present when you do that. And this is a very important thing for leaders to do, to stay present in the moment when they're speaking with other people. And again, you don't need to be a leader to do that. You could be someone who is among a group of engineers, let's say for this particular moment, and you're getting ready to do a presentation, but there's a fault, there is a problem during the course of that presentation. Well, you don't need to be the leader of the engineers to stop and say, I think I know what we need to do, and here's why. And the why part is extremely important. Not that long ago, I think it was probably in, well, it was in November, actually. I was working with a group of engineers where they had an issue that was coming up, and they were very frustrated, and they weren't really sure how they wanted to move forward with turning this particular product out and presenting it. And it was just really awful. I mean, I felt like I walked into some real heavy duty negative energy among them for not really knowing what to do. And this woman said, well, here's the thing. I think I know what we need to do, but who am I to say anything about it? And it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, well, if you have a solution, let's hear about your solution. She shared it. And then she said, but how am I going to get anyone to listen to me? And someone else said, well, why don't you explain why you're suggesting this solution? Which was the perfect thing to say, because then she was able to say, all right, now I can share this. Now I can share what needs to be done, because now I have why. And I thought about that. You probably have heard before of that book, Why. I think, yeah, what is the name of that? Satish, I know you're going to know the name.
Start with why.
Start with why. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. He is my librarian when it comes to things like this. Yeah, start with why. It's just an absolutely fantastic book. And it is absolutely the truth. Even if you have never had any kind of title per se, you can be a leader if you know how to start as a leader, if you know that you do want to start with why. And wherever possible, find out what people are seeking. Find out the edge that they're looking for so that you can zoom into that. So this is a very important part of leadership, which is something that we practice in our leadership club. A good leader needs to listen twice as much as he or she speaks. Right? Does that make good sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Miss Barber, quickly on that one. Are you saying the solution should come solely from the leader, a unilateral thing, or it should come from the rank and file up or down, from top down, from the whole group of subjects? I mean, subject meaning the people you are leading.
What
unilateral?
I'm saying is, you don't need to have the title, or you don't need to have been there for X amount of years. If you have the solution, if you are someone who wants to move forward in leadership, you don't need to wait for the permission. All right. It's kind of funny, but it isn't going to work in such a way where in most cases they say, we'd like to promote you to be a leader. They want to see something in you that is leadership quality first and foremost. And when they see that piece of quality in you, regardless of where you are, whether you are on the top of the tier or at the very bottom of the tier, you're in the right direction to start sharing your thoughts. Just remember to do it succinctly. Less is more than more is, and be sure that you're clear on what the issue is.
That's good though. Let me give you a quick example. I remember Levi Strauss, the solution to compete against Vanderbilt jeans. Top management did not originate the solution. They asked for a solution from the people, from the employees, and they got it from the employees. And the solution did not come from top, but it came from below the rank and file. So it's not, solutions should not originate from top management. It could also originate anywhere. And that worked for Levi Strauss. I remember that.
Yeah, you know, there's a hotel in San Diego. I want to say it's the Coronado, but it may be another name again. It's a hotel that's been there since the early 1920s. They decided that they wanted to modernize it and put an elevator in the building. And so they have these workers walking around the building, these engineers and architects, trying to figure out how to put an elevator in this building from the early 1920s. It was just so beautiful, amazing, and they did not want to damage it. What were they going to do? So finally, this janitor comes walking by, and the janitor says, "What are you guys doing?" And at first they were rather rude to him. They were just standoffish. "Well, we're trying to figure out this situation here." And he said, okay. And he could tell that he was not wanted, so he started to walk away. And he said, "Well, if it was me, I'd probably put the elevator on the outside of the building." And all of a sudden everybody got it. It was like, "Oh my God, the bells went off." You know, it was really something. That's the thing, right? So, you know, I mean, people have the right solutions. They may not have the educational background even, but that doesn't mean that they are not without the solutions, to be sure. Now, there was a gentleman named Ray who raised his hand. Ray, there you are. And you're on mute.
I just wanted to make a comment about the start with why thing. Sometimes instead of starting with why, I feel that it's better to offer what and be ready to follow up, to follow with why, so that in most cases you can keep it succinct.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that might be a case that you could be right about that. That might be the way to go. I would like to know why, because actually I think that's the first word that came out of my mouth when I was born, was why. Would someone tell you to do something, you know?
Yeah,
like,
so for my experiences is that people are smart. When I say what we should do, a lot of people would understand it. I mean, of course, if they don't understand, they will ask why, and I will certainly offer why. But I don't want to start with why. That's just my personal preference.
Well, you know, you should always go with what's comfortable for you first, because you'll be a far better you than you will ever be a me. That's for sure. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Be yourself, everybody else is taken." So if for you, it's more comfortable to go that way, I would totally use that. But whatever way that you use, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to share what your thoughts are, right? Because yeah, that's the way that you're going to start to move into the leadership role that you want to have. It's not going to be by sitting there waiting for them to discover you. It's by you showing how discoverable or how much you bring to the table yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And any other thoughts out there?
I mean, Rita, I agree with you that Ray should do what's comfortable for him. But one reason most people, you want to think about the why and communicate the why as a leader is because that's the fuel that drives the person that's going to do something. So knowing your why is important for that reason. Now, as Ray said, he has to do what's comfortable for him, but as a leader, that may be something you want to consider.
Yeah, it could be. It also could be one of those things where you learn it. And what I mean by you learn it, you realize that it should not be an exclusive, I'm only going to use what, or an exclusive, I'm only going to use why, for that matter. It's going to be about your listening skills and listening and tuning in very clearly. And I believe that this is the most important thing that one needs to remember. To be a good leader, you need to be a great listener. Salazar?
Yeah, I believe in you, Miss Barber. I think why is
Excuse me, Arnie. I'm sorry. I was calling Salazar. He's had his hand up for quite some time.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
Sorry.
Actually, sorry, Rita. I'll give you my ugly look. Actually, I think for all the traits that everybody mentioned, in order to get people to follow a vision, in order to get people to know you like them, in order to create all that, you have to give them a why. I mean, everything. And when we give a why, I think we're actually giving a what. In other words, I can't say to you, we should do this. I have to tell you what we're going to do in order to do a why. So I really think underlying it all, and I agree with what you said to Ray and Ray's reasoning, but I think underlying it all, if people understand the approach, that's when you suddenly become a team and you build a camaraderie. And I think if we're trying to show people we like them, show people we engage with them and create a vision, I think the why is critical. I just wanted to share that. It's just my view.
That's wonderful. Actually, there's this wonderful story that I read recently. It's been a while now, actually, when I think about it. And the story centers on these people, these workers that are just not happy, and they are going on revolt. And they get a new boss because the boss gets fired because he can't motivate his people to do anything. The new boss comes in and they're saying, we're not going to do anything. We are just fed up with how everything is. And so this boss says, okay, well then go home for the day. Come back tomorrow morning, first thing, bring a lunch with you. And they're thinking, oh man, we're going to get fired. I don't know what's going to happen here. But they show up the next morning. They all get in the bus and he takes them to the location where they were in the process of building pieces to create a temple. And they were able to see what they were creating. I mean, this was even better than visualization. It was right there in front of them. They were able to see it. Then they got excited. Then they felt like, I need to work on this, because their why was right there straight in front of them. That makes a big difference a lot of times for people. And did I see another person's hand go up? Arnie?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Quick question though. In the taxonomy of questions, the favorite interrogative question is W is why. Journalism starts with why all the time in the lead paragraph. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, they use why, questioning the status quo. Enrico Fermi, scientist of the atomic bomb, started with why to provoke and challenge himself in the long run. Why is the most important thing questioned in the world? Challenge, you know, and reason, intellectual. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, those are all very important elements. And yes, why you come back to it, it is extremely important. It's definitely one of the things that I think about when I want to lay my case out. And by the way, where do you want to be a great leader? I kind of went past this one, and I think it bears looking at. If you work for yourself, I work for myself as an example. I am leading all the clients that I have. That's how I look at it. So being a better leader to me in work is extremely important, even though I work for myself on my own, all right? Obviously, if you work for a company and you are an employee at that company, moving up in leadership is important there too. Let's say that you are not working at the moment, you're taking care of your family. Being a great leader in a family will result in great kids. All right. So being a leader there is also extremely important. And here you are, I just got to say it. Here you are in Toastmasters, where you are given this amazing playground to learn more about leadership, to make a mistake or two. It will be okay. All right. I always say to myself, when I see someone make a mistake, I always say, what is that person's intentions? That's the most important thing. What are the intentions? And if the intentions are decent, well, any mistake I think can be tolerated, right? So think about this for a minute for yourself. There is no time where being a great leader isn't important in my life. How about way later on down the road when you go into what I like to think about as our third act, and you're thinking about what it is that you want to do? Maybe you have somebody you're married to who just wants to be retired. And then here you are, somebody who is just going crazy, just wants to do all kinds of things. Well, I hope you're the better leader of the two then, because that'll help make it happen for you. All right. And be sure to be ready with that why answer about why it's important to live that third act. And if you don't know what that is, please email me. I'd be more than happy to share information with you on that. So this is one portion. We're talking about the things that people see that are on display. But there's another portion, and this other portion I've come to realize is really the most important portion. And before we go into that side of it, I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. I wish Bina was here, because Bina, for those of you who know Bina, she's this amazing woman, and she has pushed me many times to share stories about myself. and I do so now, but I didn't back before she started pushing the heck out of me to do so. My story in my discovery of this has to do with my upbringing. I was brought up by a family that did their best. I want to make that really, really clear. They did their best, but they were always clear on letting me know that I didn't do anything at the best level that I could do it, that I was stupid, that I could not succeed, and that I should reconsider whatever it was that I wanted to do because I would be likely to fail. That's the way I was brought up. And these people continue to speak to me this way into my adulthood, of course, because this is the nature of how they spoke. This is tough stuff to take, and it makes a person not want to try for leadership, not want to try for a lot of things, because you think to yourself, I don't really think I can do it. I, after all, am stupid. I'm incompetent. Their talk becomes your internal talk. It becomes who you are. One day with my father and stepmother, I was in San Francisco. We were in San Francisco because my son was in Boy Scouts back then, and he went into a submarine thing that they had for the Boy Scouts. But unfortunately, he took a fall and he injured his arm. Worst of all, he injured an arm that he had injured a couple of years before that had been completely shattered in an accident. So we decided we needed to get him to see someone. So I said, being that I was from up here, I said, let's go to Stanford Hospital. They have a good emergency room and we can get him seen right away. And it's on our way back to Santa Cruz. And my father said, well, how do you know Stanford's any good? They may not be any good. You make mistakes all the time. You probably don't know which is the right place to go. You shouldn't go there. It's a pretty stupid idea. And I said, well, I said, it makes the best sense to me, because I said the other hospital in Santa Cruz, I tell you, is not as good as Stanford. And he says, how do you know? Do you know how many mistakes you've made your whole life? Do you know how many stupid things you have done your whole life? Now, I want to take 1 second again to remind you that he loved me and I love him to this day, and that we all do the best that we can, because this is not anything about trying to beat up on my dad, that's for sure. But when he said that to me that last time about all the mistakes that I made, I just stopped for a second and I looked at him and I said, you know what? I said, I haven't had any mistakes. And he just looked at me. He was furious with me. And I said, I've had learning opportunities. And when I said that, he was furious. Oh my goodness. He just really yelled at me. How dare I? How awful I was. Oh, I could just go on and on, but I didn't care. I had such peace within myself because for the first time in my life, I didn't see things his way. I didn't agree with him. I didn't shrink. I thought to myself, really, they have been learning opportunities. This is why I'm a good mom. This is why I'm a good worker. This is why, etc. His stuff is his problem, not mine. This happened because I have a love of reading. I am a passionate reader, and especially when it comes to biographies or histories, I love to read about different people and the things that they've done. It's, to me, everything. And I remembered actually one time reading about Edison, who was being interviewed by someone, and this person saying to Edison, oh, you've had all these mistakes, yet you keep on trying. And he goes, mistakes? I haven't had mistakes. I've had learning opportunities. Well, if it was good enough for Edison, it was good enough for me. And it changed everything. It changed my outlook for the better. It changed, thank God, how I raised my kids, because I don't want my kids to think that they can't do the right thing. I want my kids to go out there and I want them to be fearless leaders. Absolutely want that for them. And that isn't going to happen if they're feeling that they're being diminished by how I assess them. I'm telling you this because some of us, maybe not all of us in this room, we're carrying some garbage with us. We're carrying the voices of the past that have not been helpful to us. But we don't have to keep those voices. We don't have to keep those voices even from people presently. If you know somebody who's ready to say, oh, you're not good enough because, give me a break, drop them like a bad habit, at least that portion of what they're saying to you. I'm not saying break up with family, but don't buy into that. Never buy into that. So what am I suggesting here? I'm suggesting that leadership really is an inside job. And if you want to flourish as a leader, you've got to look at some of the language that you've been listening to, some of the things that have been going on in your life. And I suggest that you read a book a month. Now, it doesn't have to be a leadership book. Some people think that all I read are leadership books, and it's actually pretty funny because the bookshelf right behind me is mostly leadership books, but that's not what I read most of the time. Like this book right here, I'm really enjoying, $1 Trillion Coach. And I'll show it right over here. What I love about it is that basically it's about Bill Campbell. It's about leadership to Eric Schmidt, Jonathan Rosenberg, Alan Eagle, and how these people basically became who they became by the help of this gentleman. And this is one thing I'll tell you. Remember this really well. When you know of someone that you admire, like let's say it's, as an example, oh, I don't know, Michelle Obama, all right? That's great that you admire Michelle Obama, and that's great that you're going to read Michelle Obama's book, but who does she admire? Who are the people that she's looking up to? Those are the people that you should be reading about right now. Those are the people that can be your silent mentors that can help you along as you move forward. They don't know that they're mentoring you, but they're mentoring you, that's for sure. And one thing that I remember for sure is Harry Truman once said, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. All right. So add that book to your list of things to do. And I know it's difficult, but do you notice how I have this book right here by my computer? The reason why is because every once in a while I am in the land of on hold. And when I'm on hold, I'll pick up and just even read a few pages. By the end of the day, I have read what is easily the equivalent of about 20 minutes worth of reading, which is great. And it forces me to go back to what it was that I last read. So it pushes me to read even. All right. Also, think about the leadership qualities in the form of I am, and start to write out what the leadership qualities are that you admire the most, that you probably already possess, or at least possess in part. All right. I'm straightforward. I am a supporter of other people. Whatever that is, write that list out for yourself. These elements are extremely important for you, regardless of what kind of leadership that you do. All right. Do we have any questions here? Arnie.
Yes, I love what you just said about reading. I just found out a week ago that leaders like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they read, they're voracious readers, and they said reading is integral and central to their success. So reading has a miracle effect on everybody else. I agree with you what Truman said. All readers are good leaders. And I heard you're organizing a club on, like a book club, a Toastmaster.
Yeah, we are.
I love to be a member.
Okay, well, you know what? Send me an email and I'll be sure to invite you when we have our very first meeting. Will you do that, Arnie?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Not every reader is a leader, but every leader is a reader. That is correct. Thank you for putting that up there, Carrie Lynn. Okay, what other questions do we have out there or thoughts on it? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of other things that you can do on the inside job as far as being a great leader is concerned, is consider your values and your beliefs. Now, is everybody here a Toastmaster pretty much? Okay. So in Toastmasters, we have this thing called a high performance leadership package. And I frankly don't know what it looks like in the new Pathways product, but I do know in the Legacies program what it looks like extremely well. I love that because the 3 points that they talk about what your vision is. And we've talked about how important having a good vision is, right? What your mission is, all right? And then what are your values? What do your values look like? And this is extremely important too. Because let's say as an example that you're, and I hope this is, you know, take this with a grain of salt, a little bit of levity here. All right. If you believe that honesty is the most important value that there is out there, and you want to make a great secondhand car dealership, what's the likelihood that honesty is going to be as important in a secondhand car dealership as it could be to you? Right? Do you get what I'm saying? Anybody get what I'm saying here? I know you do. Okay. So you think about that. I mean, think about that for a minute. Think about, here are where my values are. So what would work with my values? There was this old term we used to use like in the late 70s, early 80s, grok. What would grok with my values? All right. What would work with my values? Think about that. And don't give your values up for anything, because if you do, you will hurt your self-esteem. And you just simply don't want to do that. All right. Anybody have their hand up here? I'm seeing something and I'm not sure what it is. Nope. Okay. Then take about half a day just to write down what your own personal leadership goals are. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And be generous with yourself. When I say be generous with yourself, it shouldn't just be the goal of, well, I really have a couple of goals. I want to be a better parent and I want to be a better leader in my company. Well, why not be both? You can be both. You're not putting on a different set of personality when you go into your world of work than when you come home, than when you go to Toastmasters. It's all the same person. So why not grow in all those areas? And then be sure to share. This is, I think, to me, one of the hallmarks of a great leader too. A great leader will share their secrets. A great leader will tell you, this is what it takes to be a good leader. This is where you should go, because a great leader wants to see more leaders develop. I know that this is one of the top things that I think about all the time. Certainly, we were talking about this, Rovina and I, earlier. Just thinking about what happened just in the last day or so, you realize, boy, we could really use some more great leaders, that's for sure, because great leaders would never suffer that kind of ridiculousness in a million years. Okay, so do we have any questions here?
Yeah, I have one question.
Okay.
In our place, they will people will always, some people do vulnerable. If we also how we are in before, they will talk like if I mean in our childhood days how we are talking. If we grown up also same like they will treat us. They will not accept as a leader. How to overcome this type of situation?
All right, so for me, part of your voice was going kind of slow and a bit off, and then it caught up. So I'm just going to ask you if I understood your question correctly. If I understood your question, did you ask, people will still see us as we were, and how do we deal with that? Is that basically what your question was? Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Well, you know, you just got to keep on living your life. You know what I'm saying? You can't, the thing is I shared that story with you with regards to my dad. It was probably only the last maybe 4 years of his life that he viewed me differently, that I became older than 6 years old in his mind. And that's just how it goes. And I really, all I can say to you is you need to train yourself not to worry about it. I did not worry about it. I just decided that was not, I couldn't worry about it. I remember one time where I had a job. I moved to Santa Cruz from Washington. To make a long story incredibly short, I found a job at a recovery center, and I would work with people who did not believe in the 10-step program, especially the part where you had to believe in God. And I loved working with these people. I really had a great time talking with them and learning what they were all about, etc. I drive down to Los Angeles to have dinner with my father and stepmother. My stepmother is away in the restroom while my dad and I are talking. And he said, "So what's been going on with you?" And so I told him about my job at Camp Recovery. And and then my stepmother comes in and she says, "So what are you talking about?" And I said, "Oh, this job at Camp Recovery, you know." And she said, "Oh, Rita, they'll never hire you for a job like that." It was really, it was comical. It was really comical because it was sort of like, oh, wow, geez, I'm sure glad I didn't speak to you before I went to go interview for that job, you know? But again, there it is. I mean, this is a loving, wonderful, nice woman, but this is just how she looks at things. You can't worry about that. You can't worry about that. You know who you are. Just make sure that you start to develop a people around you that can appreciate who you are and will know better than to think that you could not be a leader, because they've known nothing but you being a leader even before you had the title or whatever it was. Does that make sense? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. All righty. And let's see, not sure if you covered this, but how do you get people to lead in the Toastmasters group? Sometimes there's a reluctance for people to take on leadership roles. Think about your vision. That would be the very first thing that I would say to you is please consider your vision, and are you conveying your vision properly? I will just borrow something if I can. Rovina, if it's all right for me to borrow you for a moment. I remember back when I needed to find a chair for my TLI, somebody to manage the whole shebang and everything. And at that point, I hadn't quite grasped the idea of the difference between the payoff and the paycheck, all right? And it was really frightening to me to think to ask anybody to do something where there wasn't a paycheck, okay? I'm not gonna pay you for this, but will you do it for me anyway? That kind of thing. But the payoff actually is so much more rewarding. It's so much better once you finally start to see that. They need to see what you see though. You need to help them see, picture this, this is what we're gonna do. This is how it's gonna turn out. People are gonna show up, they're gonna love this event. And it's all because of the work that you and myself and Mindfully and Solazar, that we all pull together and we make it happen. That's what's gonna make it happen. And when you can start to share it that way, people want to do that. It's really all about Tom Sawyer and painting the fence, right? Tom Sawyer painted the fence. He hated painting the fence, but he told everybody that it was the best job in the world so he could get some other people to come and paint the fence. Don't lie. I mean, be sure you like to paint the fence, but you'll get other people to want to paint the fence with you if you make it a point to let them know that, hey, you know what? This is a good job. This is a great thing. This is going to be the outcome of it. Then it's helpful. Right?
Agree.
Let's see. Oh yeah,
I have a
happy to do
question.
that. Definitely. Francoise?
Yeah, I'm in a situation right now where I have a vision for what I want to happen at work. And everybody is so busy doing their own thing that they are not going to step up and help putting things like I want them to be displayed. So how do you go about that and overcoming like, oh, I'm too busy. Your little thing is not as important as what I'm doing.
Okay, anybody want to offer some thoughts about that? Satish?
Yeah, one simple thing to think of, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, Francois, but what's in it for them? What's in it? I mean, it could be even recognition, doesn't have to be, what's in it for them that will motivate them? Again, going back to why would they do what you want them to do so that, you accomplish whatever it is you have in mind.
Maybe you bring some apricot-filled croissants, right?
Yeah, I've tried that. Yeah, I need to bring several jars. You can share in a single pot.
Well, I mean, I think really help them know what would be in it for them. Would they benefit from this at all?
Few times.
At least a few times?
Yeah.
Do they know that? Are they clear on that?
Yeah, I just don't know if they care.
Oh, well, you might even just ask them, would you care about this? Could this be of help to you? What would you think? And listen to what they have to say. Because therein you might find that it may not be what you thought was going to be important, but there is something there that's otherwise that you could use that you didn't think about before.
Very good point. Thank you, Satish and Rita.
Yeah, and Satish had his hand up again.
Yeah, one other thing, Francois. What are the alternatives to get to the same goal that you've considered, right? Maybe there are other ways to get to the same goal that you have in mind, right? Not necessarily that particular option you've chosen. I don't know the situation, but I'm just saying, when I was stuck this way, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Some things.
It helps a lot, definitely. I mean, but the thing is that if you don't really have an idea of what's going on with them, I would say to you, if we were not in the situation that we're in now, although I don't know how what the environment is for you at Apple at the moment, I would go out to lunch with a person or two. But I imagine that you're not doing that at the moment. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we are not allowed.
Yeah, see, that's what makes it a little more difficult. Anybody else have an idea about this?
Actually, Salazar.
Who?
Salazar seems to have.
Salazar. Sorry, I didn't see you up there.
Oh, that's okay. I would just let them know that you'll release the hostages if they'll agree to do it for you. I'm just saying. It's my thought.
Good point. Good try.
Hey, Francois, the other thing that I've seen great leaders do, and I think it was somebody mentioned serving others, right? You're a great example of this. You love serving other people. Have you built
my downfall?
Have you built that I mean, think of it as equity or capital, right? You're doing so much for them. You do enough for them, they want to do something for you. So the question is, have you, before you expect, and I don't need to tell you this, Francois, you're a great leader yourself, but what have you done for them is my question, or the question you might want to ask.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, I was going to share just a little communication thing of, offer some, I'm going to say this very controversial phrase, some quid pro quo for them, which is, I know you're really busy. Is there something I can help you with so that you can help me, so I can help you finish your project, free up some time for you so that you could also help me with my project. I mean, that's a very, boxed in solution, but I don't know if that's the type of thing you're looking for, but
that is a great
also helps. I do this in my community a lot. It's like when I'm feeling overwhelmed with a project, I ask for help and I often get, well, but I'm too busy doing this. I'm too busy doing that. Oh, well, what can I do to help you? And
that's very, very good.
Yeah, that helps a lot. with people, because then they're like, oh, somebody wants to help me. You know, we all get stuck in our own worlds of what we're doing. So
Yeah.
play on their selfishness.
The other thing too, be sure that you explain yourself, right? When you talk about this thing that you want their help on, explain to them why you want to do it, you know, what the benefit would be from it, maybe benefits that they could receive from it too. Don't assume that they could see that for themselves or understand it for themselves. And even if the benefit was just only really for you, that's okay too. I really believe that honesty is always the best policy. So if that ends up being the case, that it's really going to be for your benefit, period, let them know this will really help me do da 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 da. And then that's when you can take either what Carrie Lynn or Satish said and say, I would like to help you in that respect too. That's a hard deal to turn down. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Maybe
Do we
that
have,
looks like Salazar had something else. So he's been.
okay, so I'm going to go with
Jay.
Jay first.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is about convincing others that you have a solution, right?
Okay.
So would the example you gave about showing the temple to the workers that who didn't believe in that person, probably that approach would help, because if you want help from others and then explaining the why that is the problem to people, why you are doing it, and then, okay, this is how it looks, would help in getting their participation, their contribution to your project or your solution that you're working on.
Yeah, that's good too. If there's a way of doing that, that is definitely good too. Yeah.
Yeah, just build a prototype or something. You may not be able to do everything, but prototype or show a vision, show a drawing, something that can convince them that this is a right way to go.
Yeah, definitely. You know, interestingly enough, Satish just put up here 12 Angry Men, which is a remarkable movie, really remarkable. And it is a great movie to talk about how one can use their influence to create a change, a major change. I would highly recommend that. In fact, if it's a rainy Saturday night and there's nowhere to go, which there really isn't, I would go ahead and try and watch that if I were you. Salazar?
Actually, I appreciate Satish called me out, but I had forgotten to put my hand down from the last time. So I'm good.
Oh, okay. All righty. Anyone else? Did I just see a hand go up?
I have something I wanted to just mention is that leadership, you know, people are shy to take on a leadership role, but it's like a muscle. The more you exert it, the stronger you become. You know, the muscle becomes, you become stronger. The more times you try to take on something, be it at Toastmasters, at work, in your personal life, you know, people don't realize that. They just think leadership work, you know, but there are other ways that you can be a leader and become stronger at it so that you can eventually transferable skills to work, right?
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Doris?
I think a good leader is one who walks the talk, be an example, be a good role model, and always be positive. And sometimes your belief in somebody will encourage them to take the steps to be a leader. So I don't really like to buy in the trade-off. I scratch your back and you scratch mine, you know, that kind. I help you, you have to help me, that kind of attitude. So I think you just need to inspire them that it is good for them and bring your vision to them so that they will see what is good and let them decide whether they will chip in or not. So if you are a good role model, you walk what you talk about and people can see it. And and follow your pattern. That's what I see.
Yeah, and make sure that you see it too, right? I mean, you really have to see it and you have to believe in it. And that's like that you're halfway there. If you see it and you believe in it, you're halfway there, getting someone to take your hand and go in more. So Lazar, is that really your hand up, or are you just messing
That
with
really is, but Francois had indicated that Harry raised his hand before I raised my hand.
Okay. Harry?
I just have a question on different subject, not related to what we discussed. Thank you for sharing your family background and the way you talk about your wife, your father. That make me wonder if my son would talk about me like that. I think sometimes you mentioned that. Do your best, that's a family thing. I was wondering if that is a good idea or not. That sounds good, do your best, but for one person doing your best is different from another person, right? A lot of times for the leader, sometimes you do your best and a lot of other people are not in the same style, and that is a problem, right?
So it's just what I said, right? Do your best. I'm not saying do his best or do her best. Do your best within the confines of what it is that you have. And I hope that I was really clear, because there's no way that I am wanting to diss any family member of mine. They did their best, and I appreciate that. I could maybe not even know them at all, right? So I think that that's one thing I want to be clear about, because I can't even begin to tell you how many wonderful conversations I've had with my father, and to this very day, he's been gone for 4 years, and I miss him to this very day like it was yesterday. So anyway, let's not land on that kind of note. Let's do something better. I have these handouts for you. The handouts, one is really the practical side, the things that you need to remember when you're speaking and how you're speaking and the things that you're doing as far as leadership is concerned. And then I have another handout that's really more the inside game, what I would call the inside game of leadership. And to me, you could start with the inside game. The reason why I chose to start it this way, just to be really clear with you, to talk about some of the more exterior things and then go into the interior, is because once you get into the interior, it's even hard to pay attention to the exterior portions of it, because your wheels start to go around in motion and you think about all these different examples in your life, friends, parents, brothers, sisters, all kinds of people. And I wanted you to be able to be present with your own self in this hour, so that you could at least pick up, hopefully, 1 or 2 pieces that will help you in leadership, and that you will pass that on to people in your life, right? And that way we build a stronger world all together. That's what I think, at least. Do we have any closing questions anybody would like to ask? Salazar.
Yeah, actually, Rita, I did have one last thing, and I think it ties into what you said and what Harry said. See, I believe that leadership is being the best of ourselves in the situation. So going back to what Harry said, but I think it's different than yours, is that we have to first start being the best of who we are before we try to say, I'm going to try this trait because I need to do it, as you said earlier, the way I do it, not the way Rita does it or the way Francoise does it or anything like that. So I think first we try saying, how can I be the best person I am in this situation? And then decide what I need to add to myself. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Barber, can I ask the last question?
Sure,
thank you so much. Yeah. My question has 4 parts, but I'll reduce it to 2. First of all, Harvard Business Review said that most CEOs and leaders are abandoning intellectual or rational or logical leadership, and they go into emotional leadership because it's compelling, it's effective, and it's something that is towards engaging the people that they lead is more effective. Do you agree with that? That's my first thing. And the second question is, in terms of gender, you know that you have thousands or hundreds and thousands of women CEOs. Mary Ibarra, General Motors, Gail Kosciana, Indira Nooyi, Cody Barry, Safra Cass, Oracle Corporation, Phoebe McCovic, and Dira and Amelia Braley, Masula Burrs of Xerox, and about those political leaders, Theresa May, Margaret Thatcher, Golda Meir, and all those political heads of the state. So who do you think is a better leader in terms of gender, men or women? It's all yours, man.
Wow, Arnie, you give me
That's
such
a
a hard time, I swear.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, you know, I don't really think in terms of men or women. I think about the individual, really. And I think that that's the way to look at it.
I'll give you a simple question though. What do you think of Daniel Rex as a leader? Is he the ideal leader? Is he the epitome of a great leader? That's my only question. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I don't spend much time in the office with him these days, so I don't really know. I can't really comment on it. I will say that one time when we did spend a day together, that I found what he had to say to be refreshing and great to hear, and definitely in keeping with a person with good leadership qualities. All right.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very
You're welcome, Arnie. All right. Anyone else? Going once. Was this a good session for you guys? Yeah, were you able to pick up some pieces that were helpful for you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and you know, if you need anything else, if you have any follow-up questions, I think my email is on the bottom of one of those things, or maybe even both of them. I really wish that you would just make it part of what you do this year ahead, is not only becoming a stronger leader yourself, if that's the direction that you're thinking, but take someone by the hand and help them become a stronger member too, a leader too. I think it would be very good. All right. So if we don't have any other questions, then I am going to turn it back over to Rovina, right, Carrie Lynn? Or am I
Yes.
turning it over to you?
Yes, to me. Thank you, Rita. Thank you. This was a wonderful session. You know, what a great way to start the year, and a wonderful way to think about focusing on leadership. So thank you very much for this information. Will you stay around in case people just wanted to talk to you one-on-one for
You bet, of course.
a while longer? Okay. And then I will send out one of us will send out a survey. If you could please complete that for us, you know, because that helps us as we go forward with other sessions, and send it back to us. And once the recording is available, for sure, we will send you the link. Should you want to hear what was said once again, you know, because Rita shared a lot of information. I personally, Rita, loved how you shared your personal story, because it takes a lot to do that. And that in itself says a lot about a leader, you know, when they can make themselves vulnerable enough to share something. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita, and we love you.
Yes.
Aw, thank you, Arnie. And I'll be looking for a testimonial from one of you to Bina that I shared my personal story, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Will do. So please stay on if you want to talk to Rita. You can feel free to leave if you want to. It's up to everybody.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. They are shrinking and shrinking.
One thing that I heard recently was if you look at couples that fight, right, because or there's confrontation between couples, what's the most common complaint? Do you know?
That couples fight about?
Yeah, no, what do they say when they fight? What's the most common complaint?
Well, it starts with you.
No,
You
it's,
don't listen to me.
You're not listening to me.
you don't listen to me.
Yeah.
You don't listen to me. That's the start of the confrontation. Always, you don't listen to me. Well, what you could do to, Solazar talked so nicely about how you react and to confrontational situations. Maybe one of the things to do is to say, okay, this is what I heard you say, active listening, right? And then see if it changes things. Oh, that's not what I said. All right, what did you say? Let me hear you, right? Let me listen to you. So it might take it down a notch, at least, if not for anything else. It might at least take the temperature down, as people were saying yesterday.
I thought you were going to say it was money.
That's a wonderful thing that you say there, and wonderful example to give to make me understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice.
Satish, I know you said something, but I wasn't listening. Could you? That was really good.
You know what would have been better? You'd say, "What, Satish? What did you say?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 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 So. Yeah.
Well, this was fun today.
This was really great, Rita. I wanted to I just stuck around because I just wanted to share that. I really, really enjoyed that. This was wonderful. So.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You guys, I'm going to stop the recording now. I think we're good. Thank you for all of those.
Yeah, you don't need to go to the second reel.
Kate, what are you saying? Toddlers screaming.